Hi, this is Sarah with Posh Pooch Designs, and today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make these cute little gingerbread houses. They're actually gingerbread dog houses, Christmas tree ornaments to hang on your tree or to decorate with around your house. They measure about 5.5 across and about 6.5 inches tall. Now, as you can see, this one turned out just a little bit smaller. I did the pattern exactly the same. I just tightened up my tension a little bit. So if you want it a little smaller, you can use a little bit smaller of a hook. This one is about 1/2 inch shorter and about 1/2 inch more narrow is all. We also did one in blues for fun. We're calling this our frozen gingerbread house. I just thought it was fun to try, just to test the pattern out again. Now, this is a free pattern on my blog, and I will have that blog link in the comments for you, so you'll be able to get that pattern as well. Now, for their demonstration today, I'm going to be doing the traditional colors. We'll be doing the brown and the green and the red and the white, of course. And it's a really simple pattern. All you need, let me set that aside, is just a little bit of yarn. You're going to need maybe 1 ounce of brown for the gingerbread, you know, tiny bit of white, a tiny bit of red, and a tiny bit of green. And these are all worsted weight 4 yarns that I had in my stash. The white and the brown are Red Heart Super Saver. The red and green sparkle is I Love This Yarn from Hobby Lobby. You can use any worsted weight 4 yarns that you have on hand for this crochet pattern. Now you're going to need a needle because we're going to do a little bit of sewing. And, of course, to weave in those ends. You'll need your scissors for cutting edges, or trimming off the edges of the yarn. And then you'll also need an H hook. And, of course, I've got my favorite H hook, purple with the little green thing in the center for my fingers. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to begin with our brown yarn. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to chain 15. And I've already made a chain of 15 here for you. And we're going to be starting at the bottom down here of our gingerbread. And we'll be making this square house triangle shape of the gingerbread house. And we're going to be making 2 of those because we make one, we put the door and the dog bone on, and then we make the back and we sew them together. And I'll show you how to do that, of course. So the first thing we're going to do is chain 15. And just a little note, if you chain tightly, you might want to go up a hook size because you really want the bottom of this to be just a little bit looser. If not, we end up with just a little bit of a pucker, and we don't want that. Okay, so we're going to double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 3 chains count as our first double crochet. So we're going to double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook, and then double crochet across in each chain for a total of 12 double crochets. Just in case you don't know what a double crochet is, you have a loop on your hook, you yarn over, you go in that loop of the chain, pull a loop up, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2 loops. And that is a double crochet. We're done 1 double crochet in each chain across, and we need a total of 12 double crochets. Whoops, last one. All right, now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and this chain 3 counts as our first chain 3 on this row and also the next 3 rows. So we'll have 4 rows of double crochet, and then we'll double crochet in each stitch across. All right, let me show you this one. I've already got started. This one has the 12 double crochets, and it has it for 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and this is the bottom of our gingerbread house, the bottom area where we're going to start our decrease stitches. So for at the end of row 4, don't chain 3, only chain 1. And then we're going to do a double crochet decrease, or stitching 2 double crochets together. So you're going to yarn over and go in the first stitch and pull up a loop, and we go in the next stitch and pull up a loop, and you'll have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through the first 2, and yarn over and go through those last 3. Now, this makes 2 double crochets into 1, so we've decreased by 1. And now we're going to put 1 double crochet in the next stitches across until we reach, which will be 8, until we reach the last 2 double crochets, because we're going to double crochet those 2 together also. Now, if you've done a double crochet decrease on other patterns and it's a little different, that's okay. This is just the way we're doing it for this project. And I like the way that it works. Okay, so we have 8 double crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're going to put a double crochet decrease or 2 double crochets together in these last 2 stitches. So yarn over, go through that stitch, and now we're going to go through the top of that chain 3 that works as our first double crochet. Yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through those last 3, chain 1. And we're going to continue this all the way up to form our point. So here we go. First one, second one, first 2, go through those last 3, and now we're only going to double crochet, in the next 6 stitches because we decreased by 2 double crochets on the last row. All right, there's our 6, and now we're going to decrease again, go in that stitch, top of the chain 3 is our, or actually this one is not the top of our chain 3 anymore, that's our double crochet decrease. Then we're going to go through 2 and go through 3, chain 1 and turn, and you can see it's beginning to start forming our point. So we're going to do the same thing, go through the first stitch, go through the second stitch, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the last 3. Then we're going to double crochet in the next 4 because we decreased again by 2. So there's 1, 2, goodness, excuse me. All right, I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Double crochet decrease in the last one. All right, a little bit of dry throat. Let me grab a swig real quick of water. There we go. It's dry here in Colorado, so sometimes I get a little bit of a dry throat. All right, so let's decrease 2 stitches together here. Now we're just going to double crochet the next 2. 1, and then another double crochet decrease. Goodness. There we go. Now we only have 4 stitches left. We chained 1 and we turned, and we're going to put the first 2 together, stitch the first 2 double crochets together, and then we'll do the same thing with those last 2. Get it through there. There we go. And now we have 2 double crochets, and we're just going to double crochet decrease 1 time, putting those 2 double crochets together. 2 and 2. You can see our point. Cut our yarn, tie off, and then you need to decide which is your front and your back. And I'm just going to pull those to the back, just like that. And let's make sure we grab this one and pull it to the back. Oh, there we go. Sometimes some yarns can be just a little bit splitty, and that one caught a little bit. Okay, so we have 2 of these. We made 1, and I've already got another one made here. So we have 2 that look like little mountains or ice cream cones. Let's move them over so you can see them better. There we go. Now we're going to set these aside because we will be making the door and the dog bone, and we're going to attach that before we sew them together. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make our door. And I'm going to be using this green for our door. So we're going to chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. And just so that you can remember what we're making this door right now. Okay? All right, so we're going to put 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook and in each chain across, and that will give us 8 single crochets. All right, one more. There we go. Now, because we want our door to have a little bit of an arch up here, how we'll do that, we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn that out of the way. And then we're going to put 2 single crochets in the first single crochet. So we'll do 1, 2. And then we'll do 1 single crochet down. And that'll give us a total of 9 single crochets. Okay, chain 1, and we're just going to do 1 single crochet in each single crochet. Whoopsie-doo. Make sure we put 1 in each of those 9 single crochets. Chain 1. You can see it kind of arches up a little bit there. We're going to do the same thing, 1 single crochet in each single crochet. Don't you love these sparkle yarns? They don't have a brown sparkle. I wish they did. Not that I found yet. Maybe if you all find one out there, you can let me know. All right, so now this next row, we're going to be doing the last row. And so we'll be putting 2 single crochets together up here. And I'll show you how to do that when we get there. So we're going to do 7 single crochets. Okay, 6, 7. Okay. We're going to single crochet the 2 top single crochets together. So don't yarn over, just put your hook through, pull up a loop, put your hook through the last stitch, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and go through all 3 of those, yarn over and tie off. We'll cut that. There we go. And then just pull your stitches to the back. Get on there. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and make sure this one's to the back. This is the back of our work. So I'm going to go ahead and clip those out of the way. And so that's what our door looks like. And it looks a little wonky, doesn't it? And so the way we fix that is we use our white yarn and we put a little row of slip stitches around here. So we're going to start down here at the bottom. And we're going to pull our yarn up through, just like this, make a little loop, and then on each row, we're basically going to just slip stitch across the edge, just like this. Get it where you can see it better. There we go. Go in, pull a loop up, and go through. And it makes a nice little chain. Put your hook through. That, pull a loop up, go through that chain. See how it's making a nice little chain? Now in the corner, I always add just a little extra loop, just so it lays kind of more like the corner. I mean, they are still rounded. Okay, so we're going to go right up this side. And this one's pretty easy because we can put a slip stitch in each stitch going up. And now we're getting ready to do this rounded portion, and we want to be careful to make sure we get it nice and round So I put one in there. We're going to put one around each. When I'm doing the ends of rows, I try to put one in each end of the row. I just kind of move around with it. Oops, I got a little splitty there. Let me fix that. There we go. All right, now we're going to get back to putting our frosting on. See how that rounded a little bit? We just go right around the shape of the top of the door. And now we're just going to go right back down the side of the door, putting a stitch in each, a slip stitch in each row if you can. Just like that, make sure that's snug, and then we're going to go right in where we started. Just like that. And now what I want you to do is to cut off a long tail about 18 inches. That's probably more than you need. And that will give us yarn so that we can sew it onto the door onto the gingerbread. Okay, so I'm going to just make a loop just like that. But before I do that, I want to put on the door handle. And so you're going to take your red yarn and we're going to put that on our needle. And I'm going to show you how to do a French knot. So you want to put your needle up about halfway and make sure when you come through that you come through a stitch and not the hole in between or it won't hold. Okay? So we're going to pull it up and we're going to hold our needle out and we're going to wrap the yarn around 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go right in on the next stitch and just gently pull your yarn through, and that gives you just a little knot. And then on the back, what I do is I just since I'm only doing one, I just make a little gentle knot. I don't pull it tight, just enough to hold it in place, because we are going to sew this on, so it is going to stay. And then I clip those threads. And there's your doorknob. Okay? So let's take one of our pieces here. And we're going to place our door on here. Now, we're going to be stitching them together. And so you don't want to put it all the way to the bottom. You want to put it on that next, it's the same row, just on the top of the bumps there. And just sort of eyeball where it's even. You can pin it in place if you're more comfortable with that. Okay, so we're going to thread our needle. And then all we're going to do is we're going to go in and out those chain stitches. Now I've got it down too far. I'll push it back up. All right. So I'm just going in and out those chain stitches. And I also, I would not stitch too tightly. I just want it to hold. I don't want it to pull or snag or anything. And then I just kind of go like this, push it through all the way around. And you can do as many stitches or as few stitches as you want. My needle's a little bit blunt. I like to go with a little bit blunter needle. So if you need a little bit pointier one, you certainly can use one. I buy my needles. I don't buy my needles in the yarn section. I buy them in the fabric section, because you can get 6 needles that are tapestry needles for the price of 3 needles in the yarn section. Just a little hint. That's at Hobby Lobby and Joann's. Okay, almost done. And there you go. My door's all stitched on. I've got a little doorknob. So I'm just going to go through a stitch or 2 back here to hold it. And we're going to cut that off because that will be inside. So there's my door. All right, so I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to show you how to do the bone. It's really, really easy. So with your white or whatever color you want to make your dog bone, chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to turn and we're going to slip stitch in the second chain from the hook and then chain in the next 4 for a total of 5 slip stitches. I'm trying to get this close because this is little. Okay. There's our last slip stitch. Now you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to slip stitch in that top of that stitch, like that. There's your first little dog bone bump. 1, 2, 3 again. And then you're going to go back into the top of that dog bone and slip stitch. Looks a little nasty at this point. Forget what you see. And slip stitch in the next 5 slip stitches. There's 1, 2, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to do one more. It's so tiny it's hard to see. And then we're going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3. We're going to slip stitch right in the center of the top of that dog bone. And then we're going to slip stitch and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then go right back in that center. And then slip stitch in that next stitch just so that it holds. Okay, it looks a little wonky, I know. Now you're going to need to cut off a little bit of white yarn, so you have just a little bit, probably 12 to 10 to 15 inches, whatever's comfortable for you to sew with. We're going to tie that off. Now it does look a little wonky. You're going to have to straighten it out a little bit, and when you're sewing it on, make sure you put a stitch in the top of each of those. And here's my needle. Here's our gingerbread we're working with. And I'm going to thread my needle. And I'm going to cut this piece back here. And I'm just going to lay it down. And then I'm going to adjust this a little, decide where I want it. That looks good to me. Remember to give yourself some room here and here because we'll be stitching on those. And then with your thread, just, there we go. Couldn't get it through. Sew it in place. But what I mean by make sure you stitch the shape of the dog bone, I got a bump there for some reason. What I did is there we go, came up about there and made sure I made a stitch going that way. And then I came up again kind of the same spot and just stitched this way, just so that it would hold the shape of the dog bone. There we go. And then I'll stitch across. I'm going to do that real quick so I can show you the other side. And then I sort of squinched it. Just make sure you can get to this edge. Did the same thing. So we can keep our shape of our dog bone. Now, like I said, if you've got some dog bone buttons, that will work great because no one's going to be chewing on this. And you can also use any Christmas button that you want if you've got some little wreaths or Santa Clauses or whatever you want to use. Okay, now let's just do a couple of loops back here just to keep our yarn together. Okay, so now we've done the embellishment that we can do for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew our front to our back. And we're going to do this facing right sides out. And it's a little bit tricky. So here's our front, here's our back. And see, that covers our stitches good. And where you're going to begin, turn it over this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to count up 4 rows. At the top of your 4th row, you're going to put your hook through both thicknesses. Tie on, just like that. And then we're going to single crochet down. We're going to single crochet across and back up to here and tie off. All right. Now what I do is I just try to put my stitches close together so there isn't any gaps. Let me check to see if we're doing a single crochet or a double. Okay, we're doing a single crochet. I just wanted to make sure. And we're going to go around the edge. One thing to remember is you want to try to go in the stitches. So it might be a little tougher, not the spaces. Now when you get down to this corner, you're going to probably want to put 3 single crochets just to help you get around that corner nice and evenly. And of course the bottom we have the stitches to work in, so you can put a single crochet in each stitch. Move those out of the way there. There we go. Making sure you're going all the way through. But this is why you need to leave that space under your door, because we were going to put them together. Now if you wanted to, you could do this in a different color. I just wanted it brown so it would still look like the gingerbread. These would be cute in pink too. All right, there's, I see I need to do one more in that corner. Get in there. There we go. All right, now I'm going to work my way back up to row 4, making sure I go through both sides. There we go. One, two, three, 4. Almost. I'm going to do 2 more stitches. 1 and get in there. 2. And now we're going to tie off like this. And what I do with these 2 ends is I just open this up and I tuck them inside. Just like that. So we've stitched around the bottom of our gingerbread. And if you want to stuff this, you can add some extra yarn or a little stuffing inside if you want to. I just chose not to. Okay, so now we're going to add our roof line. And we're going to be doing that with our white. And I want to check real quick. Let's see. All right. We're going to be putting one single crochet around like we did here, only with the white. What we're doing different though is you're going to go to the second stitch on the side where we started. Well, actually we started over here and went around, but I want you to do it on this side. Count down 2 stitches, 1, 2, and join your yarn in. Just like that. And you can tuck that yarn in along with that one and stitch over it. And what we're going to do is we're going to put 1 single crochet in that next stitch, and then we're going to work our way up to this point, exactly the same as we went around, putting single crochets evenly up the side, making sure we get both sides of the top of our gingerbread. And sometimes you got to work it through, especially up here where we had less and less stitches. All right. Now when you get to the top, you need to put 3 single crochets in the top, and that will give us a point. 2, 3. And now we're going to work down the side. Goodness gracious, I have a dry throat today. There we go. Continue to work down the side. He got caught. There we go. There we go. All right. All righty. That's another reason why I wanted to make sure you left room around your little dog bone or whatever you decide to put on there. And what we're going to do, once we get down here, we're going to put one single crochet in that first single crochet where we started, and then in the next single crochet. So it looks like that. My bone still looks a little wonky. I don't know what I did to it. All right, so now we're going to chain one and we're going to turn. And we're going to put 1/2 double crochet in each stitch back up to the point. We get to the point, we're going to put 3 and then 1/2 double crochet down. And this gives us a nice roof line. Now, in case you don't know what 1/2 double crochet is, yarn over, go through your stitch, and then go through all 3 of those loops. There we go. And this one will go a little faster than the last row because we had to find our stitches. Single crochet evenly. There's lots of times to use it for edges of blankets and all kinds of things. And it can be a little daunting, you know, you're like, oh, I don't know, I can't figure this out. So it's a good idea to practice because it's really kind of eyeballing, making sure you get enough stitches. All right. Goodness gracious. Okay. We're going to put 3 single crochets in the very top stitch. We stitch those 3 single crochets and we're putting 3 in the center of those 3. And then we're going to 1/2 double crochet back down the side of our gingerbread house. Or I should say, oh goodness gracious, today is a funny day. I should say our roof. All right. One last stitch in the stitch we began in. Tie that off. Now this one we will have to weave in because it's not on the inside. But I'm just going to pull it to the back and then I'll use my needle to weave that in. And so now we have our door on, we have our bone on, we have our roof line on. So last thing we need to do is we need to put our little candy on. But before we do that, we need to do the whip stitches. So I'm going to cut about an 18 to 20 inch piece of yarn. And I'm using the red because my door handle is red. And then I'm also going to make my little piece of candy in red. All right, now to do this, we're going to come up from behind. And we're going to go through every 2 stitches, sort of. And I say sort of because you never know. I forgot I wanted to come up from the bottom. Or we won't get any in the corner. There we go. Just come up from behind like this. If we do it the other way, we won't have it down here in the corner. I want to make sure I get some in the corner. And you're going to slant your stitches up like this. So whip stitching, you whip around. So, and I'm going to go through every 2 stitches. So 1, 2, go that way. See what I'm doing? There we go. Just whip it over like that. There we go. Go around the top of the house there. I'm going to add it a little closer in there. Make sure we get one on the top. And then the distance that you put your little peppermint stripes is up to you. But I like a lot, so I do them about every 2 stitches. There we go. We whipped around. Now we're going to turn it over, and I'm going to go right up in there with my needle. Cut that off. And then we'll do the same with those. So now we have our peppermint stripes on there. Okay, so now we need to make a little piece of candy, and I'm going to do this with the red. It's really, really easy to do. Chain 2 and put 5 single crochets in that chain 2. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Move that tail out of the way. We're going to go ahead and join to that first single crochet. Give me a little thread to sew with. There's our little candy. And I'm going to take this needle first on this piece of extra thread and just kind of whip it under there so it will stay put. Cut that off. And now, just put this here and sew it in. I tried making one with 1 strand of white and 1 strand of red, but it blended in too much with the roof line. Alright, so there's our candy, and I'll go ahead and weave that in since I've got my needle in the back. Cut that off. And the last thing we need is a hanger. So I just cut off a piece of the green. And I just go through the top like this in the back. And just tie a little knot. And that's it. And then I also use a metal hanger on this part up here. And that is our gingerbread Christmas doghouse. Isn't it adorable? Well, I hope you liked this video. I know it's longer than some of my other ones, but we had a little bit of details to work through. So I hope that you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel and you'll give me a thumbs up. Merry Christmas in July.